Hello everyone, I'm Jacob, the Community Manager with Paradox Studio Black. Today we'll be reading the words of Jason Cantillini, one of the designers working on our upcoming event pack, Coronations. In this video, we're going to run through a particular character's coronation experience from beginning to end. Afterwards, we'll have a quick look at other possible choices our protagonists didn't make and get into a coronation guest's perspective and possibilities. Please note that everything shown in this dev diary is a work in progress, and the numbers you see here today are liable to change before the release of Coronations. Let's start by meeting our hero, young King Ailill of Scotland. He's just taken the throne, and he's facing some rather tough circumstances. While not exactly hated throughout the realm, he's certainly not liked by all. A strong faction stands in opposition to our young king, and his little two-county domain leaves him little strength with which to dissuade them. As a king yet to hold a coronation, the uncrowned law has been set on King Ailill upon his succession. He's losing vassal opinion, and his legitimacy is being both drained and its gain neutered. This needs to be sorted. Fortunately, through developer fiat, King Ailill has enough gold to hold a coronation right away. This is a doubly good choice because it'll keep the mighty Liberty faction off of his back temporarily, although whether the coronation will weaken or swell that faction remains to be seen. Ailill may only hold a regular coronation. As a Catholic king, he cannot hold a papal anointment, which is a right reserved for emperors alone. He will be crowned in his capital of St. Johnston. As the site of other coronations in the past, this barony boosts his activity's chance of success. The mid-tier options for the ceremony and celebrations are all he can afford, but they should serve well enough. The intent we select here will have a significant impact on the outcome of this pricey endeavor. Some suit his precarious situation well, while others represent a bit of a strategic miscalculation. Exalt the Crown is great for when you're in a safe situation. Rather than striving to please the attendees, you'll strive towards bonuses for your dynasty and coronation artifacts, as well as tack additional rewards onto the oath you will hopefully manage to complete. Weakened detractors could help Ailill against the faction opposing him. He may get opportunities to peel off its members or lower its discontent. Sadly, Ailill is a compassionate ruler, and he's not interested in bullying his attendees or entrenching the hatred of his enemies. Embrace supporters could be a useful intent here, as King Ailill has some important friendly vassals who he could further strengthen and impress during his coronation. The impress attendees intent is a reliable fallback, particularly for those facing unpopularity. It will give Ailill the most opportunities to boost his general image and counteract losses to magnificence, the coronation success metric. He's going to go with this intent. The activity is announced and invitations are sent out. The king's guests choose their own intents. Some are helpful to their host, some are hostile, and others purely self-interested. And so it begins. Note that on the right, the most powerful of Ailill's supporters and detractors, those who can affect the course of his coronation, are shown along with their intent in this activity. The coronation's magnificence is currently extremely low and likely to spawn negative events or effects for King Ailill. It was damaged by the existence of the strong Liberty faction, but it wasn't particularly high to begin with. If you're a member of a culture or faith that practice coronations involving a priest placing the crown, you'll get the event shown on screen, which gives you the choice between having the crown put on you and you crowning yourself directly. The latter practice was surprisingly common in places such as medieval Iberia. This event does not trigger if your coronation is an anointment, as that is all about being recognized by the Pope himself. Ailill will crown himself king without the church's intercession, because we showed off the "You're crowned by a priest" event in our last Coronations dev diary. The prelude phase of the coronation has begun. In its random events, the host and his guests begin to meet, to engage in politics and discuss the ceremony to come. Throughout the coronation, its host will receive petition events from groups of guests who all hold the same intent. Most of these are largely beneficial, and the host may choose between accepting the petition to increase cultural acceptance, for example, and disappointing the petitioners in exchange for some magnificence. King Aelil's guests do not all have friendly intents, and those intending to disrupt loyalists confront him in order to strengthen their own faction. They are only able to do so because the unfriendly detractors at the ceremony outnumber or outmatch Aelil's present supporters. With his focus on impressing everyone during the prelude, at the expense of gaining pretty much anything else, Aelil has increased magnificence up to an appreciable 63 out of 100 for the beginning of the ceremony. The people of St. Johnston are pleased with the regal spectacle on display. The ceremony proceeds, with Aelil gaining or losing some currency based on his popularity amongst each of the 3 estates, the nobility, the clergy, and the common people. With that, the time comes for Aelil to crown himself. If he had any zealous vassals, they would now be quite displeased, along with his realm priest. When all of the ceremonial events are complete and an oath is chosen, or all possible oaths are turned down, more on that later, it's time for the celebratory feast. The final phase of the coronation can still play host to politics, but also presents chances to lose accumulated stress, as well as more opportunities to gain positive relations. If the host is true to the intent they began their coronation with, that is, if they never switched it out, they may claim an additional reward at the end of the activity. Our guy Aelil was utterly focused on impressing his attendees, so he gets said reward. And this wraps up Aelil's coronation. To summarize how it went, Aelil incurred significant opportunity cost to choose options that improved magnificence, but it furnished him with more prestige and legitimacy at the close of his coronation. He achieved those ends quite well. He made his most powerful vassal into a new friend, swayed most attendees into liking him more, made it to the next level of legitimacy, and gained a good chunk of prestige. However, he spent a bunch of gold on this activity, and he's still likely to face a civil war now that the festivities have ended. What's more, Aelil's realm has been torn by the divide between his supporters and detractors, who, at the coronation's end, lose opinion of one another and become closer to being rivals. Now, let's take a look at how this hive of drama plays out for a guest. Attending coronations as a guest is highly encouraged, particularly if it happens to be your own liege's coronation. Guests come not to murder and seduce and all of the usual things. They come to figure out where they stand with this new ruler, to find opportunities for personal gain, or just to be nice and have a good time. We really wanted to allow guests to have agency through their selected intents, thereby lending coronations a tangible purpose, expanding your expected outcomes beyond the usual stress loss and opinion gain with random attendees. Now, let's go over the guests' intents, some of which will only be available to vassals. Bear witness, the default intent, is for those simply looking to have a good time, or maybe those specifically interested in cultural acceptance with attendee cultures, piety, or legitimacy. The latter is a pretty juicy gain from just attending someone else's activity. Offer support is a great choice when you favor the crowned sovereign, want their goodwill, and intend to help them secure their position. This is a particularly handy intent when you're setting up your dynasty in other realms and looking for opportunities to help them succeed. Advocate domain is a vassal-only intent, and pretty nifty for those intensely interested in their little corner of the realm. In their time of fresh uncertainty, a new liege might prove quite generous in inductments and concessions towards your land's prosperity. Vassals interested in getting their own contracts changed may pick profess rights as an intent, and hope for a major boon from their liege. With such a narrow focus, you may see fewer rewards as a guest, but we all know how big it is if you do manage to get the treasure of all treasures, reduced vassal taxes. The siege's advantages intent yields prestige, gold, or claims on titles in or around the host's realm. You can expect opinion hits though, as it's not the friendliest intent. And what is definitely not the friendliest of intents Disrupt Loyalists is your path to reducing the magnificence of the Coronation, thereby costing the host prestige, legitimacy, and opinion. It's particularly useful for faction members, and those with rivalries against the host and their supporters. A terrible foe with Disrupt Loyalists may even critically succeed, and get the chance to depose their despised host. Be warned, however, this intent does create ill will with the sovereign being crowned, as well as with those who love them. As we've just covered, there is a broad selection of intents for guests, intents that should prove relevant to your own gameplay interests. To go ahead and answer some potential questions, you can attend the coronation of your spouse, and you will be recognized as consort. You can't be the officiant at a coronation. You can only attend as a full-grown adult, although the ruler getting crowned has a minimum age of 12. We want waiting for adulthood to be a little punishing, but not too punishing. Shown on screen now is a guest-facing petition event, the culmination of their intent. In this instance, the guest has the Advocate domain intent, and is the only attending vassal who has selected it. Nice guy A. Lil, however, chooses to accept. As the coronation progresses, the guests get random flavor events in the prelude and feast phases. They receive some events in the ceremony phase where they bear witness to the host becoming a proper sovereign. The event shown on screen now is a big opportunity if you're a vassal to speak out and either voice contempt or total support. Being a sufficiently devoted detractor can lead to rivalries, so be warned. Now let's discuss oaths. Oaths are a new mini feature we've added to the coronations as a part of a middle phase of the activity. You will be able to choose an oath to open up a special decision and set yourself a long-term goal for the crowned ruler in question. Our aim in making these oaths is to give the player some tangible goals to choose from, to give their rule a more substantial focus, in addition to your regular decisions. We've changed the event screen for this occasion to show you more options at once and give you more alternative choices. Our hope is that this will enable the player to find something that fits their interests for their next ruler. Of course, if none of the options do, you can always refrain from taking an oath if you're uninterested. Each oath comes with a time restriction, some requirements, and some rewards. Some of the oaths are a tad more simplistic and more likely to be available, as they are almost always relevant, like the Conquest Oath we are showing on screen now, whereas others will be a bit more involved. The exact rewards you get from this will be affected by the magnificence of your coronation, so a higher magnificence will provide a higher amount of legitimacy and prestige. The oath decision will be available at the top of the decision pane in a new special oath category, as well as in the current situation screen, both of them showing the amount of time remaining. Those who fail to uphold their oath in time will lose legitimacy and prestige as they lose face amongst their peers, vassals, and peasants. After that, it functionally works like most decisions in the game already do. You fulfill the requirement, you get some occasionally spicy rewards for your actions. With that said, let's go over a handful of the oaths that we're adding in Coronations. The Foster Enlightenment Oath lets you make your realm into a center of learning. If you're able to complete this oath in time, you will receive legitimacy and prestige, as well as a university special building. The Strengthen the House Oath allows you to improve your stress loss, tyranny loss, and child opinion per legitimate child. And upon completion of the Repent Oath, you receive legitimacy, prestige, as well as having all of your sinful traits replaced by random virtuous ones. These are just a few of the many different forms of oaths that will be in Coronations on release. They are still a work in progress, but hopefully some of these have piqued your interest. And that's all we have for today. As always, thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on everything Crusader Kings 3, then please subscribe to the channel and like this video. If you have any questions or comments, then please leave them down below. Did you hear when I hit the microphone at 14 minutes in? I gesture a lot while I'm recording for these videos, so I'm constantly accidentally hitting the microphone or fiddling with my employee badge. Normally when this happens, I would just cut the take and then re-record it. But it's currently 7:30 at night. I'm done for the day. Good night, everybody.